The house was already loud when we arrived. Not the joyful kind of loud that grows organically, but the kind that's been assembled early and turned up too high, ornaments clinking too often when doors opened and closed, the television glowing brighter than necessary, voices pitched slightly above normal as if cheer required effort. It was morning, technically, but it felt later, compressed, like the day had already decided what it wanted to be. I carried the gifts in both hands, their edges pressing lightly into my palms. Paper I'd chosen carefully, tape smoothed flat, names written clearly, evenly, because I still believed that small precision mattered. I set them down by the tree where they joined the others, indistinguishable now, absorbed into the pile. I watched my kid pause just inside the room. It was subtle. Anyone else might have missed it. 1 foot forward, then stillness. His shoulders lifted slightly, like he was preparing himself for a temperature change. He scanned the space, not for people exactly, but for signals, where to stand, when to speak, how much of himself would be welcome today. Couldn't give him a cue, so he stepped in anyway. He found a place on the rug near his cousins, close enough to be included without forcing it. He folded his legs neatly beneath him. He smiled the way he does when he wants to belong without asking for confirmation. Soft, careful, provisional. The kind of smile that leaves room to retreat. I noticed things then, the way you do when you're already slightly braced. I noticed how my sister's kids were corrected gently. Don't jump there, you'll knock the glass. Careful, honey, not so loud. The words floated easily, unburdened, wrapped in reassurance. Attention given freely as if it were a given right. And I noticed how my kid wasn't corrected at all. Not because he didn't need it, because no one was watching closely enough to bother. As if attention itself were a privilege you earned by already belonging. I told myself I was imagining it. I always did. That was the role I'd learned, to smooth the edges internally before they could cut anyone else. The moment came quickly. It always does. These moments never announce themselves. They slip in wearing ordinary language. My niece looked straight at him. She didn't lean in. She didn't lower her voice. She didn't search faces for permission. She spoke plainly, carefully, like she was sharing a fact she'd learned recently and wanted to get right. Grandma told me you're not her real grandson. The room didn't stop. Someone laughed too loudly at something on the TV. Wrapping paper crinkled. A mug clinked against a table. My niece didn't sneer. She didn't smirk. She didn't whisper. She said it the way children say things when they believe accuracy is kindness. My sister giggled. It was a small sound, brief, but decisive, the kind of giggle that lands like punctuation. Someone else smiled, the tight, sideways smile of someone registering awkwardness but declining responsibility. No one corrected her. No one said, "That's not true." No one said, "We don't talk like that." No one reached for the moment to reshape it into something safer. The sentence stayed where it was. I felt my body respond before my thoughts did. Stillness first. A quiet tightening, like a door closing gently but firmly inside my chest. My breathing slowed. My vision sharpened. I took inventory automatically, the expressions in the room, the likelihood of support, the predictable paths the conversation would take if I intervened. I knew exactly how it would go. I'd speak calmly at first. I'd say something about family, about how words matter. Someone would interrupt, smiling, telling me not to overreact. I'd be told it was a misunderstanding, that kids repeat things, that it wasn't meant that way. Someone would say it's Christmas as if the calendar could absolve harm. I'd be asked, kindly, firmly, to calm down, to not make it a thing. I'd be positioned as the problem. I didn't want to teach my kid that lesson. I didn't want him to learn that belonging required swallowing himself. That truth was negotiable if enough people laughed. That love asked you to stay quiet when it hurt. So I said nothing. Not because I had nothing to say. Because silence was the only response that didn't lie. I stood up. I picked up our coats from where I'd placed them earlier, folded neatly over the back of a chair. I gathered the gifts we'd brought, the ones I'd wrapped slowly, deliberately, believing that effort translated into care. I held them for a moment longer than necessary, feeling their weight, the irony of it. I caught my kid's eye, just once. I nodded. He didn't ask why. He didn't look around for permission. He stood up immediately, smooth and quiet. Relief crossed his face before confusion had time to arrive. His body understood something his mind hadn't fully named yet. We left without ceremony. No slammed doors. No speeches. No pointed looks meant to be remembered later. Just absence unfolding in real time. The cold outside felt sharper than it should have. The car door closed with a finality that felt earned. As I pulled away, the house stayed exactly as it had been. Lights glowing. Noise continuing. No one ran after us. No one called out. The space adjusted quickly, the way structures do when they're used to you carrying part of the load. In the car, the road stretched ahead, pale and quiet. He sat for a moment without speaking. Then, small and steady, he asked, "Am I real?" The question didn't wobble. It didn't dramatize itself. It was practical, clarifying, as if he were checking the definition of something important. I kept my eyes on the road. "You're real to me," I said. My voice didn't shake. "That's enough right now." He nodded. He accepted that the way kids do when they trust you'll return to it later. When they believe that unanswered questions are being held somewhere safe. That night, after he was asleep, the house settled into its own quiet. The kind that doesn't feel empty, just unobserved. My phone buzzed on the table. "Did you send the family bonus yet?" Mom, the message was framed like a reminder. Neutral. Efficient. Like something automatic I might have forgotten. Every year I sent it early. It wasn't extravagant, but it helped: utilities, groceries, gifts. A buffer everyone relied on without naming. No one ever thanked me for it. It was treated like weather. Expected. Unremarkable. Always there until it wasn't. I looked at the message for a long time. I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. I typed back, "Oh, it was just not to you." I didn't add punctuation. I didn't soften it. I didn't explain. I set the phone down. By morning, the silence had cracked. Missed calls stacked themselves neatly. Messages arrived in quick succession, shifting tone with each attempt. First confusion. "Is something wrong?" Then irritation. "Why aren't you responding?" Then panic, thinly disguised as concern. Someone suggested there must have been a mistake. Someone else called it cruel. My sister wrote that my niece didn't mean anything by it. As if intention were the only metric that mattered. As if harm evaporated when delivered innocently. I didn't respond. What I had done couldn't be undone by conversation. The transfers were complete. The numbers had settled into their new places. There was nothing to negotiate, nothing to reframe, nothing left that could be smoothed over with the right tone. My mom eventually left a voicemail. Her voice was tight, controlled until it wasn't. She spoke carefully at first, as if managing herself. "You're punishing everyone," she said. A pause. "This is about feelings," she continued, voice sharpening. "You don't do this over feelings." I deleted it without replying. The days that followed were quieter than I'd expected. Without the constant hum of messages, the house felt larger. Less crowded by unseen expectations. Mornings unfolded without interruption. Evenings lingered. My kid played longer at the table, lining things up, taking his time. He stopped asking when we were going back. The questions simply fell away, like something no longer relevant. One afternoon, he taped a drawing to the fridge. The tape was crooked. The paper curled slightly at the edges. He stood back to look at it, then said, "This one's for us." Not defensive, not defiant, just factual. Something in my chest loosened then, quietly. I realized how much noise I'd been filtering out for him without realizing it. How often I'd mistaken endurance for protection. How much of myself I'd compressed to keep doors open that only ever stayed ajar. There was no apology that arrived shaped like accountability. There were attempts, reframings, jokes meant to reset the tone. Pressure dressed up as concern. "We miss you. This is getting blown out of proportion. Family is family." I didn't step back into that room. Silence wasn't a tactic. It was alignment. Some families don't notice you until you stop propping up the structure. When you do, they call it abandonment. They don't ask what was holding things together before. I didn't feel victorious. I felt settled. Distance costs something. So does staying. I finally chose the cost that didn't ask my child to shrink. The following weekend, we made our own small holiday. No tree as tall. No chorus of overlapping voices. No performance of joy. Just pancakes. Music playing low. Flour dusting the counter. Laughter that didn't check the room before arriving. It felt unfamiliar at first. Quiet in a way that took getting used to. Then it felt like relief. Belonging without conditions. Turned out that was the gift I'd been trying to send all along.